Mark Knowles is going to join us now, obviously coach of Jessica Pegula, our colleague here at Tennis Channel as well. Knowlesy, from my understanding, you're about to pop up here any minute. Good to see you. How was the U.S. Open for you? You take a nap? Have you relaxed at all? What's going on?
What's happening, ladies? Thanks for having me on for Women's Day. You guys look beautiful up there at the desk, by the way.
What a Thank you, Knowlesy. You know just what to say.
Yeah, obviously it was a terrific U.S. Open, and ended up just a little bit short for Jess, but so proud of her effort. I mean, she played a terrific fortnight of tennis, played really well against the world #1, pushed her to the limit, and you could argue maybe a little bit unlucky not to get through there in the end. But there's a reason that Sabalenka's #1 in the world, and she continues to show it.
Well, I was just going to mention that Jess told me that it was your birthday on the semifinals, and last year for your birthday present, she told you to take down a world #1, and now this standard is outrageous to think that she has to continue to take down world #1s as your birthday present, Knowlesy.
Yeah, I tried to keep it quiet from her. Last year, she didn't find out it was my birthday before she took out Iga in the night match, and I was going to keep it quiet again this year. Unfortunately, Mark Merklin let the cat out of the bag early, so she texted me I feel extra pressure. I got to deliver. I said, hey, listen, just the fact that we're playing on my birthday, you've already delivered. Go out there, relax, have some fun. And boy, I mean, she didn't get the win, but I was so proud of her, and a great birthday for me.
Mark,
great to be there.
Yeah, we know that Jess has won 3 titles this year on all different surfaces, one in Bad Homburg, and then by her standards, a little bit of a lapse until the U.S. Open. What was it that clicked? We heard, Mark, that there was a practice day where she was so upset about her practice that she actually walked off in the middle, which doesn't seem anything like her. And there were a couple drinks involved. I mean, okay, does that solve everything? So what was it that clicked after that, and why was she so upset about that practice session?
Yeah, Tracy, you wouldn't know about that. You never got upset. You were always super confident. But yeah, I mean, we all know how difficult it is. Shelby knows. I mean, the ins and outs, the long year. Obviously, she had high expectations going into Wimbledon after winning that title in Bad Homburg, her 3rd title of the season, feeling very strong. Unfortunately, had a tough loss in the opening round. But once again, it was credit to her opponent. She lost to Cocciaretto there. Cocciaretto played terrific tennis. And then obviously it wasn't the summer that Jess expected. Obviously a different type of summer coming in with so many points to defend and just a different layout, right? Champion in Canada, finals Cincinnati, finals the Open. I think for Jess, just trying to kind of manage that and know what to expect. Maybe she's struggled a little bit with that, but also we were working on a couple of things this summer, myself and Mark Merklin and the team, trying to add to her game. And ultimately, even though there were big events in the summer and she was defending things, we looked at it as every week was an opportunity. And more importantly, kind of unfinished business in New York. That was really her goal. And listen, I mean, we were as surprised as anyone the level that she was able to attain there in New York. We did have a rough day of practice leading in, which, by the way, sometimes can be really good. I don't know if Shelby ever got upset, but I've had 1 or 2 of those, and some of my cohorts as well. Sometimes they can just let the steam out, but she got it together, and I think it's testament to the type of player that she is, also the type of competitor that she is. It felt like the minute she played the first point this year at the Open, it was a completely different Jess. And I spoke to Mark Merklin yesterday, and we actually had a great discussion. And I said, I think the semifinal match might be the best match I've ever seen Jess play. So, that's where we're at. We walk away super positive, super excited for the future.
I was going to say, some of those terrible practices are what you want. Leave the good playing for the match, I want to ask you, though, about the tennis balls. I know this is a really intense discussion amongst the players on tour, but especially with the Wilson balls, the regular duty versus the extra duty. Do you have any comments there? I know in the new mixed doubles at the U.S. Open, they use the extra duty ones, and then during the singles, it was the regular duty. I know Jess likes them, but there's been some discussion. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Shelby, great question. I mean, the balls have been probably the number one topic, the biggest issue for a lot of players. And it's also been a concern for Jess in the summer. She felt like the balls were playing different week to week. DC, into Canada, even Cincinnati. She seemed to be very pleased with the balls in at the US Open. And I think that's been the discussion amongst most players, is that even though it's the same brand, they've been finding that they've been playing different. They've been kind of different outside of the can. So I know from the ATP Tour standpoint, we've done a better job of using the same ball through certain swings. I'm sure the WTA is trying to do the same thing, but now it's about getting consistency of the same brand of ball. But that's just a tough one. It makes our job as coaches really hard, because obviously it's tough if a player doesn't feel the ball. And as you all know, up there on the desk, these players play with so much feeling in their game that if that's a little bit off, it can create some issues.
There's the honeydeuce. Is that the honeydeuce?
It's a honeydew. So that was actually Jess's tweet after the match. When you lose 4 points on serve in the third set, but you lose the match. From my understanding, she found that stat while she was in press and couldn't believe that was the outcome. Knowles, when you took a look at that stat sheet, or did you feel it in the moment?
Yeah, I mean, it's the cruelty of tennis, isn't it? Right? That third set, Jess won more points. She won 33 points. Arena won 31. Jess was 0 for 4 on break points. Zabalenka 1 for 1. Jess dropped serve in that first game, 30-40. The one look that Arena got, she took it, and then Jess didn't drop another point on serve for the entire set. I think she won 16 consecutive points on serve. All of us saw it. Obviously, we were there courtside. The quality was so high. Both players more winners than unforced errors, and we were having a couple of those tasty beverages afterwards, just kind of reflecting back. And sometimes you just got to hand it to your opponent, right? Yeah. Jess has lost some tough matches to Arena, but it hasn't been about not executing. We learned a lot from the final last year at the US Open, tried to execute a little differently this year. And, Arena's one of those players. I mean, every big point, it seemed like, especially in that final set, she hit a first ball winner, which, as I told Jess, I've been around a lot of greats, Federer's, Djokovic's, Serena. Like, I don't recall so many players going for first ball winners and playing with that level of confidence. But, you can't complain about it. You just got to give credit where credit is due. And, it's tough to strategize and compete against, but on the other end, you also have to give Arena her flowers.
Absolutely. Mark, I was in the stadium, and I was kind of right at the baseline level. Jess's returns were this far inside the baseline, and Sabalenka would just come up with incredible shots back. And all those break points, I felt like Sabalenka didn't feel the pressure. So when you go back and kind of rehash a match like that, because Jess in 2 different games, mid-third set, had opportunities. The crowd was so for her. I don't know that, and tell me if I'm wrong, I don't know that I've ever seen Jess so fast. She was so quick out of the middle, seemed to get everything. I mean, I don't remember her being that fast as she was out there. What do you break down in a match like that when somebody is hitting that big? What can you do differently? Her slices were good. I thought her drop shots were good. Her ball striking was amazing. But Sabalenka, she just took it to another level.
Yeah, it's really tough. As you mentioned, Tracy, I mean, the level was so high. And for us, for Jess to play her best tennis, she has to be moving well. That was something we took away from last summer. Was missing a little bit throughout the summer this year, but as she's, she joked about it. We talked about how well she was moving at the Open, and she was like, yeah, it only took me 6 weeks to finally start to move again. But, I think that's a really good thing for us as a coaching staff. She was moving as well as we've ever seen her move. Last year, net approaches in the match against Arena. Arena really dominated in that stat. Jess didn't do as well. Whereas this year, Jess dominated that stat as well. Moving forward, she did a much better job than Arena. So you look at a lot of stats from the match, and you'd be a little bit confused to think that Jess lost the match. But it's the beauty of our sport. You've just got to continue to improve, not get discouraged. I think Jess walked away. Believe it or not, she's so stable. You guys know her really well. She's pretty level-headed. She's a great competitor. Of course, there was disappointment after that semifinal loss, but I think she also had a level of encouragement, knowing that she was doing all the things we've been working so hard on: movement, using the slice, looking to move forward, serving well. And that's all you can do really as an athlete. And you guys know it better than me. Tennis it's one of those unique sports where you're playing against an opponent. So, it's not like golf where if you go out and shoot 62, you've mastered the course. No one's fighting back. Tennis, you can play a great match, but if your opponent happens to play a little bit better, you can come up short.
Wait, what's she eating there? Are those
And
Nachos?
she's got some nachos. We stopped off at Hill Country. Actually, my good buddy runs that restaurant. It was just outside the upper players lounge. We thought we'd get some nachos and maybe one or two hydration beverages afterwards, just to kind of lighten the mood. And Mark Merklin doesn't drink ever, so you can see him in the background there. We're trying to pressure him, but he's not giving in.
He's not looking. He's not going to look while she eats those nachos.
What a
That's
fun
great.
team.
What a great
Oh my
team.
gosh.
Knowles, you mentioned it. She's got such a chill, demeanor about her. Not a lot phases her. And yeah, you see that on the court quite a bit, but just behind the scenes as well. And now you get a glimpse into it in the players box. You can see the advertisement there with the other three women that she does that podcast with. She talked about how she'll look up at the screen. She'll see who's in the crowd. It doesn't faze her. Have you ever been around a player that seems to be that unfazed by the outside noises? I know she found out walking onto the court, from my understanding, that the roof was closed.
Yeah. They basically told him a minute before. I mean, listen, she does a really good job. As I said, she's very balanced, right? She's got a wonderful husband and Taylor, great family. She's got great friends on tour. You see a couple of them there doing the Players Box now, their podcast. But she's also a fiery competitor inside. People always ask her to kind of be a little bit more outward, a little bit more outgoing on the court, but that's just not her personality. But inside, Shelby knows very well. There's a burning desire to achieve and compete there. But I also think, we try to keep it pretty relaxed. Myself and Mark Merklin, also John Upfer, the fitness trainer, Seba, the trainer as well. We're all pretty relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're intense. We have our intense sides because we want to try to get the best out of Jess, but we also have, that side where, hey, at the end of the day, it's a tennis match. We did everything we could as a team, and you went out there and executed. We couldn't be more proud. So it's really a treat for us to work with somebody like Jess.
Mark, moving forward into the Asian swing, what is Jess's schedule, and how far away is she from qualifying for Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, obviously that's now the goal, right? The first goal for most of these top players, try to win a slam, get to a Grand Slam final. And then secondly is hopefully put together a good enough season to where you have a chance to make the WTA finals. And, I think she presently sits in sixth position, obviously 4 guaranteed with the 4 Grand Slam champions, and they're actually up above Jess in the rankings anyway. So that's kind of a good thing. Won't have what happened kind of like last year where Krejcikova, was injured for most of the year, but was healthy enough and came back as the Wimbledon champion. So it's pretty tightly congested there. There's a lot of great players moving up. So her focus, she's going to obviously represent her country in the Billie Jean King Cup finals, which she loves doing. She loves playing on a team, and, that kind of relaxes her. So she'll go help Lindsay Davenport and the rest of her teammates there.
That's
and
in
then
China.
she'll play Beijing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's in China. And then she'll play Beijing and Wuhan. And then, depending where she kind of sits on the race, I think she'll decide whether she plays another event or gets ready, hopefully, for the year-end finals.
Well, Knowles, you have been putting in so much work, and we appreciate you hopping on here and giving us so much of your time. I know, from my understanding, you are headed out to watch your daughter play tennis now. Is that correct?
Yeah, my daughter's got a big high school tennis match this afternoon, so I'm following Tracy's footsteps. I'm going to call her for some advice how to deal with kids that are playing tennis, and I understand Shelby's expecting,
Yes,
so
she
can't wait for another mom
I'll
to
be
join
calling
the
both of
tour
you guys.
in about 2 years.
And then, Mark, your son had a touchdown, over the weekend? Tell us about that.
Yeah. So obviously it was a tough loss for Jess, but the good news came of it. I flew to Atlanta. My son, who's a quarterback at Georgia Tech, got in for the first time, and his first college pass ever resulted in an 84-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
So it was cool to be there.
That gave me chills.
That did too. Look at
Yeah,
that.
was it cool?
Chill.
That's amazing.
Were you just standing up and cheering the whole time, Knowlesy?
I was excited. You know how it is when your kids are out there performing, you can barely breathe. So I was super excited for him because, as we know,
He works hard.
they put in so much hard work. You know, with your sons, Tracy the hard work that it takes just to get a few achievements here or there.
That's wonderful. Well, congratulations. He wanted to make sure you didn't have to lose your voice too much. You did it quickly. One pass, 84 yards. Is that what you said, into the end zone? Knowlesy, we appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day and good luck to your daughter.
Thanks, Danny.
And your
Thanks,
son, of
Tracy.
course.
Thanks,
Nosy, don't
Shelby. You guys
change
have a great day.
expression on your face and sit on your hands. Don't make bad faces.
That's the advice coming from you,
That's
right?
it.
Okay, Shelby,
Stoic.
take that in, okay? You
got it.
can't
I'm taking
react
notes.
into your kids'
Otherwise, it's your fault.
Chiz likes to say that I'm fake chill, so I try to continue to be fake chill.
That's right.
Love that. It's actually probably a proven skill. Thanks, Knowlesy. Appreciate it.